I met other refugees, some sponsored by Government of Canada and some privately sponsored. Those refugees who are sponsored by Government of Canada come from refugee camps with help from the United Nations. A key problem for them is that their children did not get access to proper schools at the refugee camps. Many children don't know English and have a difficult time fitting into our school system. This is especially true for the older children. Parents worry that their children are more vulnerable to getting involved with criminal activities. There are many privately sponsored refugees in Surrey coming from war-torn countries. The sponsoring agent is responsible for providing living expenses and support for 1 year. In many cases, this is not happening, as there is no clear accountability rules established for the sponsoring agent. I met a young refugee who is 25-year-old who was sponsored by someone known to his brother. After arriving here in Canada, he never met his sponsor. He has applied for jobs but couldn't find one, and he has no income. These refugees cannot apply for welfare for 1 year. Our compassion to open the door to these refugees fleeing from conflict area is right, but leaving them in desperate situation once they arrive here is wrong. We need to do a better job. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Jackal Lakes.
Mr. Speaker, we all know that there's no greater gift than a child. But last November, a group of compassionate children showed that they can give a great gift also. Students in a grade 6-7 class at South Chi Elementary School in Fort St. James came together for a cause after their friend, Nolan Alexis, lost his life in a car accident as he ran across Highway 27 in the dark. Even though he went to a different school, Nolan's friends at South Chi Elementary were deeply affected by the tragedy. But they decided to respond with a positive message and started the Be Safe, Be Seen project. The goal was to hand every single child in Fort St. James, Nakosli, Talazan, and Yakutchi a reflective bracelet so that they would always be seen by drivers in the dark. The grade 6 and 7 students ventured into completely new territory. They had to recruit RCMP officers to support their campaign, convince community service agencies and of their cause, and organizational promotion events. The students raised enough money for 2,000 reflective bracelets. They visited schools in the area to give out the bracelets and delivered important information about how to stay safe on the walk home from school. Not surprisingly, the efforts of this inspiring grade 6-7 class were rewarded with an incredible response from the community. Not only did their classmates join the traffic safety efforts, but soon people in the entire community, young and old, were wearing the bracelets. With the efforts of just one young, determined group of kids, many communities are able to remember their good friend Nolan Alexis and make sure that a similar tragedy does not repeat itself. Please join me in congratulating the students and staff of South Chi Bay Elementary for such a great initiative.
Maple Ridge, Pitt Meadows.
Mr. Speaker, like every community, Maple Ridge has its hot spots and troubled areas. One of these locations is Port Haney, an area south of the town core that is frequented by prostitutes, drug dealers, and people living on the streets. The area is also known for its historical landmarks, such as the Haney Wharf on the Fraser River and the old Haney House where founder Thomas Haney and his family lived. There are many low-income families living in this area, trying to get by in these tough times, hoping to feel safe in their neighborhood. In 2010, the Port Haney Neighborhood Change Initiative was born out of a community conversation of concerned citizens. With funding from the District of Maple Ridge, it is growing a number of solutions for the area. Co-chairs Chris Iverson and Yvonne DeBray are focused on looking for ways that all Port Haney residents can live together positively. The group serves to unite the work of the RCMP, Bylaws, Parks and Recreation, the Business Improvement Association, the Salvation Army Caring Place, businesses, residents, and others, in an effort to improve safety and well-being in the area. The Port Haney Neighborhood Change Initiative's vision is that of a connected, tight-knit neighborhood with ongoing open communication and everyone living together peacefully and respectfully. They are an action-oriented, all-hands-on-deck type of group and have special cleanup days where everyone gets involved. One solution they implemented was to provide better lighting to improve the safety of the area. While they do not tolerate negative behaviors, there is no intention to remove anyone. As Devon Debray often says, everyone has a place setting at the table of life. With ongoing support from the community at large and financial support from the District of Maple Ridge, this important initiative will help to bring Fort Haney to its full, vibrant potential. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Madam Clerk,
Oral questions by members.
Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. My questions to the Minister of Justice and Attorney General. Recently, we've seen over the last year really a dramatic increase in the number of stays of proceedings in our court system. Over the weekend, we learned of yet another case. Charges of aggravated assault were stayed in Duncan due to a 19-month delay. The individual involved was accused of sucker punching, then beating a defenseless man as he lay on the ground. In her judgment, Supreme Court Justice Miriam Groper said that there's a point in time at which the court will no longer tolerate delay based on the plea of inadequate resources. So my question to the Minister of Justice and Attorney General is simple. What action is the government taking now? Not a review, but what action are they now to address this growing crisis in our justice system of increasing stays of proceedings?
Attorney General.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And as we have said numerous times in this legislature, that any time there's a stay of proceedings, that's a concern for us. But we've also said that it's important to look at the context in which that decision is made. So in fact, Mr. Speaker, crime has fallen by 26% in British Columbia since 2000. Mr. Speaker, we continue to see the number of cases that actually end up in courtrooms across the province drop as well. And Mr. Speaker, despite all of those statistics, this government has added in the last 2 years 23 new judges to the system. So, Mr. Speaker, fewer cases, lower crime rate, more sheriffs, more judges, and we still have backlogs and stays. We're going to ask some questions about that.
Leader of the Opposition has a supplemental.
Well, Honourable Speaker, as the Minister will know, and I'm sure this is of concern to her as well, that's cold comfort for the victims of crime who go through this sort of process. I think it's cold comfort. The reality is, the BC Crown Counsel Association says there are 2,500 current cases delayed by 18 months or more. They've also identified 5,000 fewer state cases delayed between a year and 18 months. And since we're talking about a review of 6 months, a lot of those cases will be put into the red zone as well. So I guess the question to the Minister of Justice and Attorney General is this: what action is being taken now? The Minister talks about statistics. The reality is, her own report says, her own audit shows, that the number of sitting hours by provincial court justices decreased by 3,500 over the last number of years. So the question, I guess, to the Minister of Justice is, what action is being taken now? Because these stays are happening now. What action is being taken now to address this question in the justice system?
Attorney.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And in fact, in British Columbia today, we spend over $1 billion, Mr. Speaker, $1 billion in the justice system. And at the same time, we continue to see the crime rate drop. And, you know, the members opposite might actually want to look at the context of how we are seeing the challenges in the justice system. There's been no change in the length of cases. For example, Mr. Speaker, they have stayed relatively stable over time. And what has this government done? Well, in fact, what we've done is appoint 23 new judges. And Mr. Speaker, every time you add a judge in British Columbia, the cost to taxpayers can be up to $1.4 million per judge when you build in all of the supports necessary. So, Mr. Speaker, I think that taxpayers expect us to ask questions beyond simply, let's just put more money in, let's just throw money at the problem and assume we can fix it. We're actually going to ask some tough questions and try to get to the bottom of the systemic issues in the justice system in British Columbia.